Hello and welcome back to a new episode of our bizarre and unusual world. In today's episode, we will be going over the Winchester house. As usual for this series, I will be covering the who, what, when, where, why, and how of the Winchester house. First, I would like to start with the who. The Winchester house was built by Sarah Winchester. Sarah was born in 1840 and married William Winchester in 1862. Sadly, Sarah and her husband lost their very young daughter in 1866, and her husband ended up dying of tuberculosis in 1881. Now, William's family owned Winchester Repeating Arms Company. They were responsible for creating the Winchester repeating rifle, and that will play into bits of Sarah's story. Now on to an important win. While still living on the East Coast, Sarah sought out a medium, asking for advice on her life. Now the medium told her that there was a specific reason that Sarah had so much tragedy in her life. This medium told her that it was karma, or payback, for all of the lives lost at the hands of the Winchester rifle. And this medium offered Sarah advice on how to confuse or handle all of the spirits that surrounded her. So in 1884, Sarah bought a home. As for the where, Sarah moved across the country into an 8-room farmhouse in San Jose, California. She hired over 20 carpenters and started what would be 38 years of building and adding on to what is now known as the Winchester house. So, what makes this house so special? This house grew to be huge. With the help of her different carpenters and designers, Sarah created different rooms, levels, hallways, passageways, and mysterious add-ons to the Winchester house. Now, just an estimate, because there are still rooms being found today, there are roughly about 161 rooms in this house, including about 40 bedrooms, 2 ballrooms, but one is finished and one is part of the unfinished. This home also has about 47 fireplaces, over 10,000 panes of glass, roughly about 17 chimneys, but there are signs of others that were unfinished as well. There's also apparently 3 elevators and 2 basements in this home. When Sarah first bought this property, it was about 162 acres of land. Today, it's only about 4.5 acres of land. So why is this Winchester house so interesting? Well, it is believed that Sarah took this medium's advice and built and designed her home to confuse the evil spirits and welcome the kind spirits. This is why so many rooms in this house just don't look right. There are hallways that lead to nowhere, staircases that lead up to a ceiling, windows and doors that open to walls, skylights on the floor, and doors that open up to drop-offs. It is also suggested that the number 13 played an important part in the design and construction of this home. Now, that could be a variety of things. 13 windows in one room, or 13 bathrooms in the whole house. 13 gems in a specific stained glass window, or ceiling panels, trees outside the home, or added light fixtures. The number 13 just comes up a lot in the construction of this home. Now, Sarah had inherited about $20 million, and her average daily income was about $1,000. So money was no object for her, and it didn't stop the construction or her crazy designs or ideas whatsoever. Some of the stained glass windows in the home were created specially from Tiffany Company. Outside you will find different trees and flowers and fountains, and there's also a statue of what is supposed to be a Native American chief. This was supposed to be a way to potentially honor those Native Americans that could have been killed with the Winchester rifle. There was also a bell tower in this home, and neighbors reported that it would often go out at the stroke of midnight. And a lot of locals believed that this was related to, or somehow a connection to, Sarah's influence with the spirit world. And, you know, midnight is the witching hour.
This is rather eccentric, and she was a recluse. She didn't go out much. She didn't entertain. She was always in Victorian mourning, always in black, always veiled.
There was even a blue seance room built within the home, and this was supposed to be where Sarah consulted with the spirits about her designs, about the new rooms she wanted to add on, or the new floors, or just any ideas she had. This was supposed to be the room where she talked to the spirits about it. Away from the supernatural portion of this story, it was actually a very innovative home for its time. It had steam and forced air heating. There was even some modern-day plumbing within this house, push-button gas lights, and even some electricity. This house was clearly built well because it actually survived a couple different earthquakes. One was the San Francisco earthquake of 1906, which actually toppled over part of the front of the home. It had been at the time 7 stories high, but today it sits at 4 after that quake. Sarah potentially thought that this earthquake was a way of the spirits telling her they didn't like the front of the home, so for a while she actually boarded up part of the front rooms, hoping to please those spirits. On September 4th, 1922, Sarah once again took part in a seance, speaking and talking to the different spirits in her home. Later that night, she went to bed in one of the many bedrooms within her house. She was known to switch rooms quite often. During the night, Sarah passed away in her sleep at age 83. So how is this house today? Today, the house is still standing. When Sarah died, her possessions were left to her niece, but the house itself wasn't actually left in part of the will. It was actually later sold at a private auction. A lot of the contractors thought that the house would be worthless because of so many unfinished rooms, some of the damage from the earthquakes, and just some of the odd architecture. In February 1923, 5 months after Sarah's death, this home was opened to the public and the tours began. It is still open to the public and tours are still held there. Of course, it is more popular during the Halloween months because of the creepy ghost stories and the odd passageways. So many people consider this to be a haunted house, or oftentimes people call it a mystery house. There is a movie being made about the Winchester house. Helen Mirren is going to be playing Sarah Winchester, and I believe the release date on that is 2018.
The absolute mystery of this woman, about whom so much is known and yet so little is known. No one really knows her motivations, why this extraordinary edifice was built.
Also, Ghost Adventures have done a couple different episodes in the Winchester house, but I personally have not seen those episodes.
If you happen to be a fan of the horror genre, then you may know the book by Stephen King called Rose Red. This book was loosely inspired by the Winchester mansion. The backstories of the two homes are completely different, but Stephen King has said he took inspiration from the very interesting home.
Many people today believe that the house is still haunted by both good and evil spirits stuck within the odd passageways and rooms of this home. Others simply think that Sarah was insane, and her unlimited access to money only fed that further. It offered her no real help, and it was simply an escape into her designs in the rooms of the house. I would personally love to visit this home. Of course, I love supernatural stories and things of that nature, but just the architecture itself. I would love to see these weird designed rooms or the staircases that go nowhere, the drop-offs. I think it would be an extremely interesting house to tour. So, have you personally visited the Winchester house? Or have you even heard of the Winchester house? Do you think that the spirits of the rifle victims were haunting the house and the Winchester family? Was she truly confusing the spirits through the interesting paths in her home? Or was she simply unstable because of her multiple tragedies in her life? Was she using the house as an escape from reality? Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'd love to hear what you guys think about the topic, so be sure to leave me a comment below. Be sure to give this video a big like so I know that you're enjoying this series. I have a lot more episodes planned, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.